It's the Eagle Community Television Forum with your host, Gary Shorman.
Welcome to the Forum. I'm Mike Koerner, and for Gary Shorman this week, the Forum brought to you by Hayes Med. And our guest this week is Rick Billinger, or Billinger, I guess I should say. Growing up around Hayes, we always think Billinger. So Billinger, and you live in the Goodland area, but you represent this area as a state senator in Topeka.
Yes.
So you're back at work this week. How about that?
Yes.
So there's a lot of things to accomplish, and I think we'll talk about that in the second half of the show, but there's a lot of people out there that don't really know who you are, and I think in the first part of the show, I want to let people know who you are a little bit. So,
sure.
You ready for that?
You bet.
I'm going to ask you hard questions here. You ready?
Sounds good.
Okay. Did you grow up around the Goodland area?
I actually grew up in Park, Kansas.
Okay, way out on the border almost.
Well, Park is about 60 miles on I-70 from Hayes.
Okay, so you grew up around there, and where'd you go to college?
I went to Fort Hays State.
Okay, and what year did you graduate from there?
Well, I was here in 72, 3, 4, 5, and I didn't graduate till later on because I had a business opportunity, and then so I finished my schooling later on when they had classes available on the internet.
Well, a lot of people do that these days, so congratulations on finishing that up. So you live in Goodland. Before you became a state senator, what kind of business and what were you working in?
Prior to that, when I moved to Goodland, I moved up there and it was in the modular home business, and I had some mobile home communities, and I was in the rental business and that type of activity.
And then you decided to go for state senator.
Well, I actually I served 20 years on the city commission in Goodland, and about my 20th year, the representative from our area, the 121st district, Jim Morrison, passed away. And I had folks call me up and they said, why don't you throw your hat into the ring? And so I was one of 4 that applied for the representative seat from the 121st district, and I was fortunate enough to be chosen by the precinct people in western Kansas to represent the 121st. It was really a remarkable deal. There was, I think, around 128 or 130 precinct people eligible to vote. And I think there was like 125 or 126 showed up to vote. It was really a neat process.
Well, this is a large territory, too, for you for this Senate seat.
Yes. I have 175 miles of I-70. So when you just pass Gorham, from there to the Colorado state line is all part of my district. 14 counties. I have Ellis, Trego, Gove, Logan, Wallace, Sherman, Thomas, Sheridan, Graham, Phillips, Norton, Decatur, Rollins, and Cheyenne.
Well, you know them all. I was worried you're going to forget one, because sometimes when people do this, they forget about them. So you've been doing this for, how many terms have you been in now?
Well, I was in the House for 2 terms, and then this is my first term in the Senate. It's a 4-year term, and I've been there 2 years, so starting off my 3rd year in the Senate.
Let's go back a little bit to you being a city commissioner in Goodland.
Correct.
Did you ever think as a young kid you ever wanted to be a city commissioner or be into politics?
Never really had that on my mind, and it was back when I decided to run for city commission. I didn't like the way some of the things were going, and I thought that, rather than complain, get involved and try to make positive changes. So that's how I got into city politics. And
then it all kind of spiraled to this.
It certainly did.
So you're in the Senate, which is a 4-year term, as opposed to the 2-year terms for the state, House members. So this is your, 2nd term now, or 1st term?
First term in the Senate,
okay.
Be 3rd term, counting 2 terms in the House.
So you kind of knew Topeka pretty well when you went down there as a senator.
Yes.
So knowing who to talk to and what to do. So you're in your Senate term right now, your first Senate term. When is your term from and to? When is it up?
It'll be up in 2 years.
So then you'll run again for
Run again for
Okay.
re-election.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, so we've got it here on tape now that you're running for re-election. You're ready to go back to work right now. You just the Senate started, or not just the Senate, but Senate House in Kansas started up January 14th. So you're back at work, ready to go now. And I think in the second half of the show, we want to go into some details of what you think is going to happen this next term. And we've got a new governor and all those kind of things, those intricate things that you get to work with. And we'll talk about the second half of the show.
Sounds good.
All right. It's Senator Rick Billinger, State Senator Rick Billinger, our guest here on the forum. I'm Mike Koerner. We'll be back with more in just a moment.
Hayes Med is your first and best choice for healthcare. They're the only facility providing tertiary level services in this region. With more than 70 physicians and 26 specialties ranging from heart, orthopedic, spine care, cancer, obstetrics and gynecology, wound care, rehabilitation and surgery, including the Da Vinci robotic surgery, Hayes Med is your comprehensive health provider for people throughout Western Kansas. Hayes Med, helping people be healthy.
Eagle Communications is your ultimate business partner. We provide business class phone with customizable features and fast, reliable internet. Your knowledgeable team at Technology Solutions has a broad base of IT services to meet your needs. Let the experts at Marketing Solutions get your message to the right people on the best platforms. The only piece missing is your business. Call Eagle Communications today at 877-61-EAGLE.
Hi everyone, this is Gerard Welbrock inviting you to join us for Tiger Talk. We record it over the noon hours, Mondays at Old Chicago, north of the interstate in Hayes, and play it back at 6 o'clock Monday nights on Tiger Radio Mix 103. You can also catch it on Eagle TV's channel 14 and 614, Tuesday and Wednesdays at 10 a.m. and 7 p.m., and always on HayesPost.com. So join us for Tiger Talk over the noon hour Mondays at Old Chicago.
Welcome back to the Forum. I'm Mike Koerner in for Gary Shorman this week. The Forum brought to you by Hayes Med. By the way, if you've got questions or show ideas, Gary would love to hear from you. It's gary.shorman@eaglecom.net. Again, this is the Forum, and our guest this week, Rick Billinger, State Senator from this area, who's living in the Goodland area. It's a big territory you get to cover. So, having a big territory, you have a lot of people that you represent in the Topeka area. You talk to people when you go around to this big, large territory of yours. What are some of the concerns that a lot of them have right now that you talk to?
You know, one of the big things is still education is always a big item on the mind of most folks. You know, want to make sure that we get the best education possible for our children, and that's always kind of the top of the...
So they're always wanting more money.
You know, not necessarily. I just want to make sure that we're getting, a good education for our kids. And, our schools do a really good job out here. I think we probably, with the resources we have, we do really, really good out here. Our kids stay in school pretty much out here, and even the larger school, which would be like Hayes High, I think they've started a new program here, the JAG program,
which we've got all over Kansas. Yeah, doing very well.
Great program.
And then, of course, I heard from last year, 2018, that there was some better money, as has been in the past, some better money for higher education that the regions had to spread out to some of the schools too. So Fort Hays are a recipient of some of that.
Yes, yeah, I serve on Ways and Means as the vice chair, and that was one of the important things that we did was reinstated some of the funds to higher ed.
So now that you're into this new term, 2019, now you have to work with a new governor. She gets sworn in on what date?
On the 14th.
The 14th. So she's now sworn in. So let's talk about the new governor. Do you suppose you'll see a lot of new things? You probably know her. She was there serving in Topeka beforehand.
Yes. The last 2 years I've served on Ways and Means with Governor-elect Kelly, and she was the ranking minority, and the chair and the vice chair, us three, sat down and negotiated the budgets with the House. So I spent a lot of time with her in a little office trying to go over things that we would negotiate with the House, and so I know her pretty well.
So that works out. You know the governor, so maybe that helps you some when you're down there in Topeka. But will things change in Topeka having now a governor that's more of a Democrat and you being a Republican?
You know, I don't know. I wasn't there, you know, the last time we had a Democratic governor, Governor Sebelius, and I know there was rocky roads, you know, at different times, and I just don't know what to really expect as far as working with the other side of the aisle on, you know, on particular issues. I think as long as there's some give and take, there'll probably be room to try to get some things done for both sides.
Well, I've heard that things have been getting better over the last couple of years, so that's a good thing. What's some of the things that you're working on that maybe you think are going to be some hot topics this time around?
Well, I think one of the first things that we'll have to address is the federal tax change at the federal level. Has a very large standard deduction now. And in Kansas, if we don't, what most folks talk about, decoupling, which says that even though you might take that large standard deduction at the federal level, if you have a small business or you're an individual that can itemize and deduct your mortgage and those type things, that if we don't get that changed right off, I think it'll probably be one of the first things we work on. It'll eliminate charitable contributions and a lot of those type things, which the bigger folks, the folks that have a lot of write-off, you know, your bigger businesses, it's not going to affect them because they won't use that standard deduction. But the small business guy is the one that really will get hurt on this. And it's roughly $40 million. If we don't change it, it'll be roughly $40 million that comes in at the federal level that the state would be keeping and not letting that go back to the individuals.
So if we work on that this term, a lot of these small businesses won't see it till the next year, which will be?
I think it'll be retroactive for 18.
Okay.
Is I think what they're trying to do. So make sure that, you know, if you're say a small plumber and you bought a new trencher, making sure that you'll be able to deduct that, you know, out of your business. And you know, I talked to one of my superintendents the other day, and he asked me about it. He said, you know, not every year does he have enough to itemize, but a lot of times he does, so he can deduct his mortgage. You know, so it affects a lot of them, probably the small businesses more than anything.
So you'll pass that. Some of the other things you're working on?
You know, I've been involved with the Capers retirement, and we've been working on that this summer. And with the Highway Patrol, we started a program called the DROP program. And basically, some of these highway patrolmen that reach retirement age that maybe want to stick around another 3, 4, or 5 years, and you know, they're top-notch people that we really hate to lose anyway. And so we started this DROP program where they're able to go ahead and start drawing their retirement, but it goes into like a 401k type product, and they don't accumulate any more retirement, but they're drawing that, and then they stay on the payroll, so they're getting their pay, and it keeps them around, you know, 3 to 5 years. And you know, we've invested a lot of money in their training and so forth, and so we have the KBI now that would like to look into that, and they have, you know, several folks that may be retiring that it is to our advantage to maybe it's a win-win situation.
That's probably good since there is a shortage of law enforcement out there in the state of Kansas. Talking about agriculture in Kansas, let's talk about that. Some agriculture items you're going to be working on?
We worked on hemp last year, and we passed that out of the Ag Committee. I do serve on the Ag Committee also. And a lot of interest in that. And I think we'll probably have to make a few adjustments. The new Farm Bill come out, and it has provisions in there for hemp. And it's a new alternative crop used in many, many, many applications. I think over 2,000 applications that this product can be used in, you know. And one that I always tell folks about is the polymers from hemp are very, very strong. And back in the 40s, Henry Ford built a car made out of hemp polymers, and it shows him hitting it with a large hammer on the trunk, and it just bounces off, no scratches, no marks. And how much ahead of time was that, you know?
Yeah, and I'd heard about a lot of hemp crop being around here in the 40s, 50s, 60s, and then it kind of changed when the laws were enacted by the feds. So let's talk about, so we got agriculture out of the way, we've got any transportation you'll be working on?
You know, I spent all summer on transportation committee.
Well, you would know that too, driving in the territory you're in. You've got a large territory. So you know those roads pretty well and the highways that need repaired?
Know them very well. And we spent, I think we had 10 or 11 meetings all summer long. About every week we went to a new location. We were in Hazer on one of the weeks. And local folks come in, you know, and talk about projects in the area that are important. And, well, you know, we were in Hayes, we were in Pittsburgh, Wichita, Kansas City, Salina, Newton. We were all across the state and had these meetings with all the folks in the areas with their particular issues.
And then healthcare, you've got some of that to deal with, and seniors with their healthcare. Maybe we can chat about that before we run out of time.
Yes, healthcare is another big issue, and you know, I'm sure that we'll have an opportunity to discuss expansion of Medicaid. That's been discussed the last couple of years, and I'm sure that that'll be discussed again this year. It's a lot of our rural hospitals are hoping to get that expanded for their needs. And, you know, there's a couple of things that, you know, as long as there's a work component in it and it's revenue neutral, I'm good with it. I think it's, you know, something we should look at, you know. And the last bill we had those two items in there, so.
Anything else that I'm forgetting that you're going to be talking about? I know there's probably a lot more, but you've got a few months to take care of it all.
A lot of different things. You're exactly right.
Very good. Well, thanks for coming in and talking to us. And sorry we cut this kind of short, but we only have so much time. But there's so much to talk about, and you've got so much work to do in just a short time.
You bet. Thank you.
Thank you. It is Senator Rick Billinger, State Senator Rick Billinger, and he's our guest today. I want to thank you for joining us. The show brought to you by Hayes Med. I'm Mike Koerner in for Gary Shorman. Have yourself a great week.